Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Maseches CHULLIN Daf Pei Daled. We begin right on top, and it connects to yesterday, so it's in the middle of a discussion here. Okay, let's start back, refer back to the Mishnah. Mishnah we learned that the mitzvah of Kisi Hadam, right, the mitzvah to cover the blood of a chaya that was shechted, or a bird that was shechted, to cover it with offer, with earth, is a mitzvah that applies strictly to CHULLIN, a privately owned animal. Avaloi b'mukdashin, says the Mishnah, but not to hekdesh. And the question was why. So, in terms of kadshe mizbeach, if you have a bird that was brought as a korban, the issue there was that the blood of the, let's say, of the chatas bird, it's meant to land on the mizbeach rather than on a layer of earth, which Kisi Hadam would require. It has to be sandwiched, enveloped between two layers of earth. You can't put earth on the mizbeach, as we discussed yesterday. But then the question was, fine, after it lands on the mizbeach, scrape it off, and then cover it with earth. So we left off with that question, and we shifted gears. Okay, you're right. If it's a korban kadshe mizbeach, yeah, it would need Kisi Hadam, at least according to this approach in the Gemara. Later, the Gemara will change. This is the first of three approaches. So kadshe mizbeach, yeah, would be included in the mitzvah of Kisi Hadam, but we're not speaking about kadshe mizbeach. We're speaking about kadshe bedek habayis. So it's something owned by the Beis Hamikdash treasury. You have no right to do shchita. If you do shchita on it, it's forbidden. It becomes asur, and something which is asur, b'hano, wouldn't qualify for Kisi Hadam. You know why? Rashi explains, because in order to trigger the obligation of Kisi Hadam, you need to have a proper shechita, a shechita which produces edible materials, which this doesn't. So that explains why kadshe bedek habayis are exempted from Kisi Hadam. Okay, continues the Gemara on Pei Daled and Aleph, right on top. I understand it in its current state. It's not edible. You can't divert, Beis Hamikdash property for personal use. You can't eat it. So you can't eat it. It's not a proper shchita. Not a proper shchita. Redeem it. Here's $5. Take the bird. In which case now it becomes edible. And then cover the blood. Answer is, that's not going to work. But there's a halacha that in order to redeem animals or birds, you have to have them stand on their own 2 feet or 4 feet. You have to stand up. And then you have to make the appraisal, which you can't do once it's dead. So that precludes kadshe bedek habayis from Kisi Hadam, because the shchita is not a shchita ru'ya, and there's no pidyon, because you have to do this formal appraisal process, which you can't. So we're working with two assumptions. We're combining two factors, two requirements, to produce this exemption. A, for Kisi Hadam, you need shchita ru'ya, a shchita which produces edible material, in which case, here it doesn't. B, you need that formal appraisal process, which you can't do. Now, who's speaking in our Mishnah? Who requires these two requirements? There is no such opinion. It's either one or the other. We don't find anybody that holds of both things. Well, come on, who are we going with? Whose shita, whose opinion are we aligned with? Ikar Rav Meir. Are we working with Rav Meir's shita? The Amar, who in fact says that hakoil, all types of kachim, even bedek habayis materials, hoyu b'chalal, were included in the requirement of doing this, formal appraisal process. Hamad avarocha. Okay, so that's required, but the other requirement is not in line with Rav Meir. He doesn't need a shchita that produces edible material in order to trigger the chiyuv of kisei hadam. Ha'amar, he tells us shchita she'eina ru'uya, even a shchita which is not ru'y, meaning it's not an edible shchita, such as this one here. Shema shechita counts as a valid shchita regarding kisei hadam. So that won't work. On the other hand, Ikar Reb Shimon, perhaps like Reb Shimon, the Amar who says shchita she'eina ru'ya l'shma shchita, that unless it's an edible shchita, it's not counted, fine. But the other requirement, he doesn't hold up. Hamar, he says, we're never required to go through this formal appraisal process. So, again, this approach and understanding why Bedek HaBayis is excluded is based on a double notion. Shchita Ru'ya is required, and Hamad Aracha is required. There's no such opinion found in Shas. Amar Rav Yosef, let me explain to you what's going on. It's Rebbe HaKadosh who comprised the Mishnahs. When he composed the Mishnah, he picked and chose, and he adopted both of these elements. He adopted Reb Shimon's Shchita Ru'ya requirement and adopted Reb Meir's Ha'amad of Aracha requirement. And he combined them, and now you have an exclusion. Rabbi V'nasavla, he aligned his Mishnah Ali B'detanoi, based on these two opinions regarding Shechita, B'shchita She'eina Ru'ya, and that he held like Reb Shimon. So like Reb Shimon, there needs to be an edible Shechita, which you don't have by the Kabayis. Oh, they go redeem it. No, you can't redeem it, because B'hamad Aracha, regarding the requirement of B'hamad Aracha, which you can't do by a dead bird, so like Reb Meir adopts Reb Meir's opinion that it's required and you can't do it. That explains the Mishnah. So according to this approach in the Gemara, when the Mishnah says that karbanos are exempt from kisei adam, it would appear that it's only Bedek HaBayis. It would appear. Yeah, that's only Bedek HaBayis, because the shchita is not a proper shchita and redemption is not practical. Whereas by Kachar Bedek HaBayis, there shouldn't be an issue, because you can just scrape the blood off the Mizbeach and cover it. But according to the next approach and third approach as well, we have reasons to exempt and to exclude even karbanos from kisei adam. Another approach to the Mishnah is Kul Reb Shimoni. The entire Mishnah is going like Reb Shimon. So theoretically, you can redeem the Kachar Bedek HaBayis after Shechita, because you don't need to have him stand up, right? So why then is Bedek HaBayis excluded from kisei adam? Kul Reb Shimoni. The answer is like this: V'shani hacha. Here it's different. In order to trigger the mitzvah of kisei adam, it's like a continuum. Shechita straight into kisui, without interruption. Perhaps it's like you extract the life force of the animal, the bird, during the shechita, and then you immediately embed the blood which contains that life force back into the earth, back into the where it belongs. So it's one continuum without interruption. If you can perform that continuous process, go ahead. Otherwise, it's exempt. If it doesn't conform to this specific model, then there's no mitzvah of kisei adam. And that would exclude Bedek HaBayis, because you can't stop in the middle and do pidyon. You're going to have to do pidyon. In order to obligate him in kisui, you have to do shechita, then pidyon, redeem it, then bury the blood. You can't do that. It interrupts the process, and that's why it's exempted. The pasuk says v'shafa v'chisa. Spill the blood, do shechita, and then cover it in a continuous, uninterrupted process. And we learn, only a creature which is not lacking. Only these two steps, shechita and the covering of the blood, meaning a situation which only requires two steps, go ahead, do it. As opposed to the Bedek HaBayis bird, which is lacking three steps, meaning you would need to do 3 steps to get there. Shemechusa shvicha, which is the shchita, pediya, redemption, and then finally v'kisi. That's why it's exempt. Oh, says the Gemara, now we can explain why carbon birds as well are exempt. Not only Bedek Abais, even Kachem Mizbeach. You know why? You've come to this clarity. I feel Kachem Mizbeach. We can now say that the Mishnah's exemption applies even to carbon birds. As to your question, to your suggestion, why not? Why just scrape it off the Mizbeach and bury it? No, that interrupts the process. It's lacking in continuum. It's only chayav if it's lacking 2 steps, meaning if it only requires 2 steps in a continuous process, fine. As opposed to the bird on the mizbeach, greater v'chisu, you need the shchita, then followed by scraping, which interrupts the process of kisa, and finally covering. That's exempt. I'll tell you another reason why kachem mizbeach are exempt from kisi adam. Amakro pasuk says regarding those creatures that are obligated in kisi adam, right? Chaya, a chaya or a bird. Now we know that you can never bring a chaya type of animal to the mizbeach as a carbon. Only behemoths, animals belonging to that family of that class of animals are suitable for carbon, but not chaya. So since the pasuk puts them together, pairs together, chaya, if we make a comparison, a connection. Ma chaya eina kodesh, just like the chaya discussed in this pasuk, inevitably is not going to be a carbon. You can't have af oiv and a kodesh. Likewise, the bird discussed is also not a carbon. So you know, the Torah is exempting any sort of carbon from kisi adam. Ask the Gemara. Well, if you're going to compare it all the way, and say like this: if so, ma chaya she'ein b'mino kodesh. So just like the chaya mentioned in this pasuk has no carbon opportunity in its whole type, in its whole class of animals, meaning you will never find a carbon from chaya, period. Af oiv she'ein b'mino kodesh. Likewise, the bird mentioned in this pasuk will only be obligated in kisi adam if it's the type of bird which you can never use for a carbon. As opposed to those 2 types of birds, we know there are the Tairin and the Bnei Yaina, 2 types, 2 variations of birds which are suitable for carbon. So perhaps those 2 types are exempt from kisi adam because it's not comparable to the chaya mentioned in this pasuk. I'll exclude Tairin of Bnei Yaina. They should be exempt from kisi adam. You know why? Because they can be used for carbon. Sheyesh b'minan. There is in their type kodesh, a kodesh bird. So perhaps they're totally excluded. No, says the Gemara, kechaya. Again, we are working with a comparison, a matchup to chaya in this pasuk. So you have to learn it like this. Ma chaya lo chilakta bo. Just like the chaya mentioned in this pasuk has no differentiations, because there's never going to be a carbon from a chaya. All types of chaya are covered, are included in kisi adam. Likewise, by birds as well. Don't split. Don't make distinctions between this type of bird and that type of bird. They're all chayiv. Okay, so that's comparable to chaya. Chaya is always chayiv. Oiv is always chayiv. But again, it has to be comparable to chaya in terms of not being kodesh. So if practically this bird happens to be kodesh, it's exempt. Okay, so in conclusion, kisi adam only applies to CHULLIN, not to mukdashin. According to the first pshat in the Gemara, only Pedek Abayis is excluded. According to the second and third pshat, we exclude kachem mizbeach. Continues the Gemara. Amar le Yaakov Minah. There was a person called Yaakov Minah. Some say he wasn't really a min. Contrast to other places in Shas where it refers to a min, a renegade Jew, because here we see that he's relating respectfully to the halachas in the Torah. Amalei Yaakov Bino, he turned to L'Rava. He had a question. Kaimelon. We have an established fact. We learned this a few weeks ago, right? That the term chaya in the Torah covers chaya and behema, typically. The term behema in the Torah, likewise, covers behema, and it's an umbrella term. Chaya b'chla behema l'simanim. So the kosher signs that are discussed by behema apply to chaya as well, right? The split hooves, etc. and vice versa. So, Eima nami behim b'chol chayil kisui. Vice versa as well. Let's assume that behema is covered by the chaya obligations as well. So, when the Torah says you must cover the blood of a chaya, it covers behema as well. We don't differentiate typically between these two classes of animals. So why don't we apply kisui to behema as well? Amrli says Alecha Makro. In response to this, the pasuk says, Ala earth tishpechenu kamayim, describing the shchita. But behema says, spill out the blood like water on the ground. What's the equation? What's the comparison to water? To tell you, ma mayim b'lo boy kisui, just like you don't cover water. Af hainam b'lo boy kisui. Likewise, the blood of a behema doesn't need kisui because it's compared to water. Oh, if it's like water, then you should immerse in it like a mikvah. Should be a kosher mikvah. Blood of a chay should be kosher. If that's the case, if blood of a behema is comparable to water, yat bila boy. Why can't we use it as a mikvah? Amakro. For that we have another pasuk. Pasuk says, Ach mayun ubar mikvah mayim yatar. Only a spring of water, only a containment of water. Hani, and these bodies of water are suitable for mikvah midachrim, but not other things. Okay, ve'eman amilut mutashar mashkin. Okay, excluding other liquids, maybe excluding wine or whatever, which aren't really called water. But perhaps the blood of a behemoth, which we just labeled as mayim, perhaps it is suitable for mikvah. We have two exclusions in the pasuk which covers both possibilities. It says mayim, a spring of water, ubar mayim, and a containment of water. Now actually the pasuk reads like this: Ach mayon ubar mikveh. It says mayon ubar mikveh. Then it says mayim. Mayim follows, so it goes back on both. Mayon is mayim, and mikveh is mayim. You can't use wine, nor can you use blood of a behemoth. Well, perhaps both exclusions in the pasuk are not referring to blood of a behemoth. That's suitable. Rather, it's coming to exclude other types of liquids like wine. Why do we need two exclusions? For two forms. One to exclude zoichlin, if you have the wine like running down into the pit. Rashi brings that by water, which had been drawn in a kli, ma'im shuvin. Once you run it down on the ground and let it sort of trickle into, it's called revia v'hamshacha. If the mikveh already had mostly rainwater and just needs a little bit to fill it up, you can take even water from a container, spill it on the floor and have it roll into. So the pasuk needs to tell you can't do that by other types of juices and liquids. And the other exclusion is to exclude a kapul of other types of liquids. Those are not suitable for mikveh. Perhaps back to our behema blood, maybe that's okay. The answer is we have three miutim in the pasuk. Tlasa, miut, ksivi. Three exclusions to exclude all three options. Because it says mayin ubar mikveh, mayim. So mayim goes back to mayin, to bar, and to mikveh. To exclude two forms of other juices, trickled and contained, and the dam of a behemoth. Mayin, ubar, mikveh, Talmud Bavli. Okay, now we're going to delve into the psukim that discuss kisui hadam. Talmud Bavli. Asher yotzud, pasuk says, go out and you trap an animal or a bird. After shchita, you cover the blood ba'afar. Talmud Bavli asher yotzud. What's the point of mentioning, trapping it? What's the difference? How you get it? Ainli ela asher yotzud. So perhaps kisui hadam is limited to a trapped animal. But let's say you have it in your backyard. It's already pre-trapped. A creature which is already sort of pre-trapped, a domesticated, a duck, a chicken. Does that require kisui hadam? Tomer loymar. Sayid. The pasuk says, sayid. Sayid is an extra expression to cover all these cases. So why does the Torah refer to trapping if it's not really part of the equation? To teach us derech eretz, to teach us normative behavior. Limda Torah derech eretz. They're teaching us derech eretz. Don't indulge in meat consumption. Shlo yechel adam basar. A person should not eat meat ela b'hazman hazois, only by way of this preparation, which means like this. As though it's not available to you all the time, as though you have to go and trap it. So be sparse in terms of how you eat your meat. Again, we have a pasuk. Hashem will expand your boundaries, you'll settle into Eretz Yisrael, and then you go and you'll have this desire of Amarti, you'll say, let me have some meat. You have desire to eat. Why does the Pasuk have to tell you sort of the background of why he's eating it and what's motivating him? Once again, Torah is teaching us our attitude towards eating meat. It shouldn't be, a thrice daily diet. Your daily, main primary fare should not be meat. Meat is something that you have, as an extra. You have a desire, you have a meat is only consumed with te'avain as of desire, but not as a staple. Suppose a person doesn't have his own livestock to shecht. Should he go and buy and go spend extra money and splurge? No, you should shecht your own livestock, meaning don't splurge. Be disciplined in terms of accessing meat. Okay, let's say he has a herd of cattle, a herd of tzayin, of sheep. Should go slaughter it all and eat it? Once again, be disciplined. Some of your cattle, not everything. From your tzayin, not everything. Based on this, comes Reb Eliezer ben Azariah and teaches us like this. Tone down your diet. Don't go wild. Don't splurge. Person has a mana, small amount of money. You should subsist on a liter of vegetables, vegetarian. Don't eat beyond your means. Asara mana, you're a wealthy guy. You own 10 mana. Yikach lifsay litra dagam. Go up a notch. Go up to fish. Chamishi mana. You're super wealthy. Yikach lifsay litra basar. Then you can upgrade to meat. Meya mana. You're super wealthy. You can have meat daily. So live within your means. Yish b'suloy. They should set up for him a pot. Kadeira, a pot. B'cholim of meat every day. So live within your means. Now the previous fellow who's not going to have it every day, right? The one that's going to have the fish, the one that's going to have the liter of basar. So when do you have it? On Monday and Wednesday for Shabbos. Vidach emas, Erev Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, a parent Erev Shabbos, once a week for Shabbos. The covered Shabbos. So in general, a person should be sparing with his food intake, with his dietary standards, tone it down, keep it disciplined. Amarav, tzrichen anulachosh. We have to adhere to this advice, to the advice that was espoused by the zaken, the elder. Why was Reb Eliezer ben Azariah called the elder? Farshim explained based on the whole story back in Brachos. When he was appointed as a very young man of 17, 18, to be the nasi, be the leader of the yeshiva. And Hashem miraculously made him look older by having him quickly grow some white hair in his beard. So that's how he got the name Zaken, the elder. He turned into a Zaken instantly. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan responds to Rav's advice. He says, Abba. He called Rav Abba in an endearing way. Abba mi mishpachas briyim hava. He's from a healthy family. Rashi explains, as the generations, proceeded, it went progressively weaker. We got weaker and weaker. Our physical bodies just weakened and weakened and weakened. So Rabbi Yochanan says, look, we can't afford to be so sparing. We have to keep high standards of dietary intake, so that we're healthier and we're strong. We need more food, better food, than the earlier generations that were able to subsist on low-level diets. But by us, go all out. Don't skimp on food. You have just a pruta, you got a penny, go spend it. You're attending the Chanukah, go straight to the grocer and buy food. Rav Nachman lived in a later generation. He says, by us, it's even worse. If you need to borrow and eat, don't skimp. Because maintaining health is a very, very important priority. Now the pasuk in Mishlei, which describes how a person should conduct his financial matters and support himself in a secure way. It says, you have kvasim, sheep, v'shecha, to use for garments. What does that mean? Megeiz kvasim yamal v'shecha. You shear off the wool and use that to make garments. So you have an in-house, garment producing entity. So that's what the pasuk is advising. Go purchase these wool-producing entities. The pasuk continues, "Mechir sada atudim." What does that mean? Sell the sada for atudim, for animals. La'olam yimkar adam sada. A person should seek to sell, a property. V'yikach atudim, to purchase animals, or provide him with a constant supply of milk and wool, right? Rather than selling the animals and buying real estate, which is not as reliable. The pasuk says, "V'deich chalev izim." It is sufficient for you. It should provide for your needs. The goats, who produce milk. Dayei la'adam. We learn dayei la'adam. It should be sufficient, adequate for a person. She is parnes mechalav gediyim utlaim shebsech beisai. Right, a person should seek to sustain himself from the sheep and the goats, right, that he has at home, rather than shechting them and eating them. So keep them around to give you parnos. Pasuk says lachmacha, for your own diet, lechem beisecha, for your family, in that priority, in that sequence. Lachmecha, your own personal food, is a greater priority than your family. You have to look after yourself first. Pasuk continues, you should give life to your youngsters. What does that mean? You should train your family to live a low life, low standards, not to indulge, to get used to luxuries, which will make it very difficult later on. Give life, provide chayim. To your youngsters, to your family. Mikan, limda, Torah derech eretz. We learn from here how the Torah is giving us derech eretz advice, wise counsel. Shelo yilamed adam as b'noi basar v'yayin. One should be careful from habitualizing his family in indulging in luxuries, in gourmet food, basar v'yayin, on a regular basis. Rashi says on the bottom line, teach your family, lamed darkei chayim, teach them the way of life, to live a sustainable life within their budget. Let's stop it, to be satisfied with reasonable standards without indulging. We turn to Talmud Bavli. A writer says Asher. Advice to get rich. Yasig mehmadaka. Should raise light animals that produce that income. Amamar chizda ma'idechsiv ashtaris tzoincha. What does the pasuk mean? A tzoina called ashtaris. It's a lashon of ashiris, of wealth. Shem ashris is baleim. They provide their owners with wealth. Some more practical advice from Rabbi Yechanan. Kosa the chorshin, a person should rather drink a glass of water offered to him by a cheresh, a sorcerer, despite its evil spirit content. That's less dangerous than drinking, kosa the poishin, rather than drinking a glass of partially heated water, which attracts the germs and hasn't yet burned it out, hasn't really boiled through. It's only concerned with klimatches and metal containers, but if it's sitting in a clay container, it's okay, no concern. Even a metal container is only concerned if you didn't throw in some grass or added ingredients into the water to neutralize the effect of if he threw in the yitzivya, there's no concern. Even without the tzivya, it's only concerned if it wasn't, it didn't boil over yet. But if it already boiled over, came to a complete boil, less lamba. So even if it's now, back lukewarm, it's okay. Because they're, already burnt out whatever germs there were. But Rabbi Yochanan, another piece of advice, Rabbi Yochanan, how to preserve one's wealth. How to preserve your money. So he refers to it in the opposite, in the negative way. Person has too much money, what do you do? How do you splurge it? How do you lose it? As follows. This way you know what not to do in order to preserve your money. Person's father left him a big inheritance, big money, and he didn't really work at it. He didn't work to earn it, so he doesn't care much, and he doesn't care about losing it. For Yitzalab, wants to get. You do as follows: wear expensive clothing, yilbash klei pishtan, wear linen garments, v'yishtamish klei schuchis, use glassware, expensive glassware. V'yiskar pay alim v'al yeshiv imayim. This is very relevant. Hire a contractor, hire workers, and do not supervise them. Let them do what they want to do. You'll see how quickly you lose your money. And the Gemara explains, when he said Yilboish Klei Pishtan, what type of garments? Bekisnu Remisa, special, Roman linen. The glassware, also super fancy. Vishtamish Klei Schuchis, that's Bezugisa Chivrasa, the white glass. V'yiska Payalam Bal Yeshvi Moin, hire workers without supervising them. What's the most extreme type of case? Beturi. Give them, oxen. They have these oxen. They come along with their oxen, and they run around your field. And they can destroy the whole place. And nafish p'sidayu, they can cause great damage. Okay. So on the contrary, if you want to preserve your wealth and your money, use it for good things. Watch out from these. I once heard from a Rav. It's a good line. He says, the Gemara brings a person who wants to lose his money. What do? You hire workers and you don't stand out, right? You hire workers. He says, on the other hand, a person wants to lose his entire sense of life and well-being and sanity. You know what you should do? Hire workers, try to be on top of it. You lose everything. So it's the equation. It's either this or that. Okay, in any case, Darash Rabavira. So he taught us. Sometimes Zimnin Amala, sometimes he quoted Mishmei Rabbi Ami, sometimes the name of Rabbi Yassi, Zimnin Amala Mishmei Rabbi Yassi. What does the pasuk mean in Tehillim? Toiv ish choinin u'malva. Great is the man, good is the man who grants and gives and is generous and lends. Yichalkel devarav b'mishpat. He conducts his business, he conducts his lifestyle b'mishpat in a calculated, orderly fashion. So he applies it to expenditures. One should seek to be disciplined and worked out, not to go beyond his means. Lo'elam yechel adam yishte. In terms of spending money on food, pachos mima sheyesh, go a notch below what you could afford. You don't have to push yourself to. But in terms of attire and dress and presentation, v'yilbash v'yischase b'ma sheyesh, according to your means. This way you're presentable and perhaps it will beneficial, in terms of business interactions. That's more important. And in terms of family, listen to this. This is the punchline. In terms of caring for one's family, beyond your means. In terms of wife and kids, spend more than you could afford. And Farshim explain, for them it's a need. When they're relying on you, you can't be tight with them. It's not fair. Be generous. Shehein Teluin Boy, it's true. His family is dependent upon him. He has to provide for them. How's he going to get? If he can't afford, the answer is Vu Tali Bimisha Amar Vaya Olam. He's dependent on Hashem, who said Vaya Olam, created the world. Hashem can do anything. Now, first explain. Don't view it as a luxury. Giving them a bit extra, being generous, being easygoing financially with the wife and kids, is for them a necessity. They shouldn't feel constricted, constrained, tight, pressured. Since it's a necessity, don't worry about it. Hashem will provide it for you like any other necessity. I'll always remember the instructions Rabbi Belsky Zatzal gave me when I was a chassan. Very simple. He says, never be tight-walleted with your wife and kids. Be generous. Be open. Be choynein. Right? Not to worry, Hashem will take care of you. Okay, Dorash Rav-Eina. Okay, now we go back to Kisi Adam. Here comes a deep halachic discussion. Dorash Rav-Eina. So Rav-Eina taught, and where was he standing? At the entrance to the head of the Kehillah in Bavli. Okay, a big chiddush. Listen to this. Hasheicha d'choyle b'Shabbos. If one needs to do shchita, to prepare an animal, to prepare food for a seriously ill person, even on Shabbat, you can do pikuach nefesh. Not only can he do shchita on Shabbos, he can complete the process as well. Chayv l'chases, he must cover the blood as well. Take out the dirt, cover it. Despite the fact that it's Shabbos. Seems like he holds that it's one continuum, it's one process, like we said before. If you can do part A, the shchita, you can conclude the process by doing the Kisi Adam, despite the fact that it's a malach on Shabbos. Big chiddush. And Rabbah took issue. Amar lahu Rabbah. So Rabbah turned to the people. He's saying something really, dvar tema, something extraordinary, which I disagree with. Lishmatua, pull away. La Meiri, his announcer. The Rabbanim used to have an announcer that would. Hey, pull him away from him. He doesn't. It's not correct what he's saying. Desanya. Have a brayso which disagrees. Clearly disagrees. Rabbi Yossi Aimer. Okay, so now we veer to a slightly different discussion, but embedded in this brayso, we'll see a reference to this question. Turns out you cannot do kisui on Shabbos, irrespective of whether the shchita was allowed. Rabbi Yossi Aimer. So he speaks about a koi, right? That was the undefined animal. Maybe it's a behemoth, maybe it's a chay. If it's a behemoth, it doesn't require a kisui, only if it's a chay. So what do? Ein sheikh neiser b'yamtiv. You can't do shchita on yamtiv because you don't know whether it requires kisui and whether it justifies moving the earth on yamtiv. So you don't do shchita on yamtiv. And if you did, okay, so do without the kisui. V'imshachta, if he chose to do shchita, in mechas stam, you don't do kisui. So although there's a suffix, there's a chance that it might need, no, doesn't justify doing it on yamtiv. And it's based on a kal v'chem. Uma mila. Look, the mitzvah of bris mila. Shavada deicha Shabbos. When it's certainly required, meaning if it's the 8th day, you do it on Shabbos. Nevertheless, ein sveika deicha yamtiv. When you're in a situation where you don't know, today's yamtiv, you don't know if today's the 8th day or the 7th day, right? Let's say the baby was born in twilight, ben hashman. Ein sveika deicha yamtiv. So you can't do mila on yamtiv on account of suffix. Certainly, kisi hadam shein vadoi doicha Shabbos. You never have a situation where kisi hadam can be done on Shabbos, even when it's certainly required. You can't do it on Shabbos. Oh, let's just stop for a second. Apparently, he's talking about our case, where you did shchita on Shabbos for the chayla. Nevertheless, you cannot do kisi on Shabbos. Okay, that's just the point that we're looking for. Let's just continue. So certainly, if that's not allowed, then of course it goes without saying shein sveika doicha yamtiv. That you may not do kisi adam in a case where it's a suffix like the koi. Hence, Rabbi Yossi establishes his opinion: a koi does not get kisi adam on yamtiv. Okay, Amrullah. Now the Chacham responded and challenged his correlation, his kal v'chomer based on mila. Amrullah kiyas sheifa b'gvum techiach. We can disprove what your logic based on the fact that blowing the shofar outside the Beis Hamikdash, right? So in the Beis Hamikdash they blew it even on Shabbos, but outside the Beis Hamikdash you wouldn't blow on Shabbos, only if it's a weekday. So tkiyah shofar b'gvum, blowing the shofar outside the Beis Hamikdash, will disprove your logic. Why? On the one hand, she'ein v'adodei Shabbos. Even when you know that you're chayiv to do it, you can't do it on Shabbos. Usveika doicha Yom Tov. You can still do it on Yom Tov, even though there's a suffix. What kind of suffix we'll see later. He's a tumtum adrogenus, not sure if he's a male or female, if he has to do it, you can still do it. So perhaps the Kisei Adam as well, it can be done on Yom Tov, even though it's a suffix. Another challenge to Rabbi Yosef's Kal V'chomer came from Rabbi Elazar Kapper. Hey Shiv, Rabbi Elazar Kapper, Baribi, the great Rabbi Elazar Kapper, Tshuva, he responded, you're comparing Kisei Adam to Milah? Mala Milah shekein einan noheges, b'leilem tovim. Can't compare it to Milah, which is something that doesn't apply during the night of Yom Tov. You don't do it on the Tovim, but as opposed to Kisei Adam shenoig, b'leil Yom Tov, which is performed even the night of Yom Tov. So it has an advantage. Amar Rabbi Abbas, Rabbi Abba responded, he says, oh, I like that argument. Ze echad min advorim. Interestingly, this Kal V'chomer of Rabbi Yossi, this brisa was one of the things, Sh'amar Rabbi Chia, that on which Rabbi Chia said, Ein le'alem tshuva, I have no way to refute it, to respond. And here we go. Ve'esher Rabbi Elazar Kappa b'ri b'tshuva, Rabbi Elazar Kappa responded and refuted the Kal V'chomer. Okay, in any case, what pertains to us is that single line in the brisa where Rabbi Yossi made reference to doing Kisei Adam after a shchita on Shabbos. In any case, it says, Kisei of Dam, she'en vadoi doicha Shabbos. Even when it's a vadai, when it's certainly a chaya, and do a shechta on Shabbos, you don't do Kisei. That's exactly our case. My vadoi the Kisei, doicha Shabbos. What's the vadai Kisei that he's talking about that does not override Shabbos? Let's assume that he shechted for a sick man. So the shechita was allowed, but not the kisei. So you see, they're not connected. No, but perhaps I'm not speaking that it was justified. Maybe he transgressed Shabbos. He did shechita for no good reason. And he's talking about that. But in a case where it's a mitzvah to do the shechita, perhaps you can finish it with the kisei. No, says the Gemara, it can't be that he did an avera, the milah, because it's comparable to the case of milah that he referred to. And just like by Milah, Milah Bereshus, Milah is certainly allowed, it's a mitzvah on Shabbos. If it's the 8th day of Kisei Nami Bereshus, likewise the Kisei he's talking about is post Shechita, which was allowed. Okay, so this was used as a refutation to Eines Halacha, that when one shechts on Shabbos, you can do the Kisei. No, you can't. Okay, let's, once we're on topic, let's go back into this price. Rabbi Yossi had a Kal V'chomer to prove that a Kai, you can't cover the blood on Yom Tov. And it was based on a Kal V'chomer from Milah. Amr Loi, and the Chacham responded, "Oh, Tkiyas Shefer Begvul Techiach. We can disprove this logic based on the halacha of Tkiyas Shefer. Shem V'adodech Shabbos. V'sveikadech Yom Tov. You can't blow it, even though it's you're required because it's Shabbos. You can't do it, but still, you can blow it on Yom Tov even when it's a suffix. Now, what do they mean? You can blow it when it's a suffix. My sveika. What does that mean? It's a suffix. You don't know if you're obligated to Kiyasha. What does that mean? Ilay mas safek chol safek Yom Tov. We're speaking about the second day of Yom Tov, where you don't know whether it's... when you have 2 days of Yom Tov, and you don't know which one is the actual Yom Tov. What are we proving from there? Hashta vadai Yom Tov dachia safek Yom Tov safek chol mibaya. So why are they saying you can't blow? Of course you could, if you can blow on a vadai Yom Tov. Right? Let's say it's Yisrael, it's only 1 day Yom Tov, whatever. You can certainly blow. Shofar, Safek, Yom Tov, Safek Chol Mibah, when it's a situation where it's a 2 day Yom Tov, you don't know which one is the Rosh Hashanah. Of course you can blow. Well, so what do they mean you can't blow when it's a Safek? We turn to the next page. Ela Safek Ish, Safek Isha. Not talking about a Safek in terms of uncertainty, whether it's Yom Tov. We're talking about a person whose gender is unknown. Could be an ish, could be an isha, right? It could be a tumtum, adregenus. His gender signs are not discernible. So that's what they're talking about. That on the one hand, we do not blow the shofar outside the Mikdash, even on Rosh Hashanah if it's Shabbos. But still, if it's a weekday, Rosh Hashanah, right? Not a Shabbos Rosh Hashanah, you can blow, even if you're not a Vadai man. A man can certainly blow, but even a person who doesn't know whether he's a man or not, he can still blow, despite the fact that a woman doesn't blow, but he could because he might be a man, he's chayiv. Now, Rabbi Yossi, who wasn't concerned about this argument, that's because he holds that even a female, even an isha, can blow the shofar. You know, it's a big question whether women can actually do mitzvahs asay shazman grama. They're exempt from time-related mitzvahs, like kiyas shofar. Can they do it? Can they say bracha, right? He holds, yeah, sure. So in this case, of course, a Safek Isha can blow, no problem. Because even if she's a Isha, she can blow. As opposed to the case of the Kisi Adam that he was talking about, if it's really a behemoth, there's no room for Kisi Adam. So that should not be done on Yom Tov. But this is no problem. Rabbi is in line with his opinion. The Amar who says, Isha Vada is not mitach. Even a real woman can blow. The Sani Rabbi, the big machlekes regarding smicha, leaning on the animal before hakrava, where it says Bnei Yisrael. Is it limited to males? Bnei Yisrael is samchin, only they do smicha. But Bnei Yisrael, not women. Samchin. Yeah. They can choose to do smicha, nashim samchas rishus. They can do smicha if they choose to do. So even if you're not really obligated, you can voluntarily do it. It's not considered like you're, using the animal. It's okay. And likewise, by blowing shofar, she chooses to include herself in the mitzvah. Be my guest. So let's just clarify what's going on. Rabbi Yossi sought to prove that when it's a koi, maybe behema, maybe chai, you can't do kisui on Yom Tov. And you had a kol v'chaymer, right? From Bris Milah. A vade Bris Milah is Deicha Shabbos, but a Safek is not Deicha Yom Tov. Certainly kisei, where vade is not Deicha Shabbos, Safek is not Deicha Yom Tov. Rabbanan responded, Kiyas Shofar, outside the Mikdash. If it's vada, you can't do on Shabbos, but if it's a Safek Isha, you can do it on Yom Tov. So perhaps the koi can have kisei on Yom Tov as well, even though it's a Safek. No, says Rabbi Yossi, Kiyas Shofar for a Safek Isha is perfectly fine. Because she can choose, even if she's a real Isha, she can choose to do it. As opposed to koi, if it's not obligated, it's not obligated. So it can't be done. Ravina adds another point. L'may dekam Rabbanan. Even according to Rabbanan's position, that a woman may not blow the shofar Rosh Hashanah. Nevertheless, the tumtum, who's unsure of his gender, can do the kiyas shofar. Right, that was their argument. So likewise, kisi adam by a safek. Namis lepircha can still refute and respond to this argument. Meaning Rabbi Yossi could theoretically respond as well. As follows. Malot kiyas shofar came adod deicha Shabbos b'mikdash. You can't prove anything from kiyas shofar, which is done even when it's a safek on Yom Tov. Has no relevance to the question of doing kisi adam when it's a safek on Yom Tov. You know what? Kiyas shofar has one up, has an advantage over kisi adam. Malot kiyas shofar shekein vadod deicha Shabbos b'mikdash. Because you know what? In the Beis HaMikdash, you would do it even on Shabbos. When it's vada, certainly chai, right? Talmud Bavli as opposed to kisi adam, the lesser klal, which never happens on Shabbos, even when it's vada chayav. So you can't compare. You can't. Okay, in any case, Heishiv Rav Lezer Kappa Bri B'Teshuva. At the end of the brayso, we have another response to Rabbi Yossi from Rav Lezer Kappa. He says, "You're proving not to do kisi adam by a safek on Yom Tov based on kol v'chaymer from Milah. Milah shekein eina neheges b'leil Yom Tovim. Milah never applies at night, on Yom Tov at night, as opposed to kisi adam, which does. Now, what does he mean? It doesn't apply Yom Tov at night. You mean to say you could do Milah on a regular night? B'leil Yom Tovim hudelei naga. Milah doesn't apply during the night of Yom Tov. B'shar leili naga, it applies to in a regular night. What does that mean? Rather, it means like this. Elamal Milah shekein neheges b'leilos kiviyomim. It was misquoted. When he said Yom, he didn't say Yom Tov. He said Milah doesn't apply during nights as it does by day, meaning it's limited to daytime. That was his point. As opposed to Kisi Adam, which is all around the clock. Talmud Kisi, Shnei Gvulei Kiviyom, applies at night just like it applies by day, so it's a more expansive mitzvah, and you can't compare the two. Amar Rab Abba, so that was the conclusion there. Rab Abba says, Ezeh echad me'advarim she'amar B'chia, ein li alei in teshuvah. This was one of the things Rab Chia had said, I have no way to respond, meaning I have no I can't really challenge Rabbi Yossi's structure, logical structure. And he responded and he challenged it with this distinction. Okay, in any case, Rabbi Eina had a big chiddush that when one does shchita on Shabbos for a chayla, he may continue and conclude the process with the Kisei Adam. It's one continuum, it's one experience. And the Gemara actually refuted it from the Brisa. Then we went to a discussion regarding the Kisei of a Koi, according to Rabbi Yossi, you don't do it on Yom Tov, and there was all kinds of arguments back and forth about that. Okay, regarding Kisei Adam in general, we have a mitzvah Kisei Adam, which only applies to Chulin, not to Kachim. We explained many reasons why it wouldn't apply to Kachim. We discussed why it doesn't apply to a Behema. We discussed the parameters of food consumption, specifically, meat accessibility and maintainment of a reasonable, disciplined, responsible lifestyle, including caring for one's family with a generous eye. All the best to you and Hatzlachah.